Welcome to another episode of the Provoking Prosperity podcast. I'm Miranda Mitchell, your host. Today we explore the depths of authenticity, creative self-expression, and purpose with Elizabeth Snyder, who is a women's portraiture artist, confidence expert, and workshop leader who passionately is committed to helping women feel and express their best. Elizabeth's work is deeply aligned with the energies of her incarnation cross, the left angle cross of Clarion, which is about embodying the transformative power of initiating change, seeking inner truth, offering intuitive clarity, and articulating complex ideas with precision. Elizabeth has decades of photography experience and has won numerous awards for her artistry, including accolades from the Portrait Masters competition, the Women's Artists in Western New York exhibition, and the Wedding Wire Couples Choice Awards. Her mission is to help women feel their worth in any situation through her specialized work in women's portraiture, branding, and headshots. Today, we dive into Elizabeth's story of perseverance, her strategies for balancing creative self-expression with business demands, and how she uses her photography to help women find their voice and purpose. We will explore how the energies of Gate 51, shock, Gate 61, inner truth, Gate 57, intuitive clarity, and Gate 62, details, play out in her work and her life. Let's dive in. Do you spend all of your time building and maintaining your business so that you achieve the success you envision? Do you feel frustrated, unfulfilled, and have a loss or disconnect from your creative flow? Are you a conscious leader that is ready for change when it comes to society's views on money, wealth, relationships, and what prosperity truly means? If so, you are in the right place. Welcome to the Provoking Prosperity podcast. I am your host, Miranda Mitchell. I am a 2-4 Mani-Gen who is here to empower and equip you to step out of the box of social norms, guide you into using your voice for inspiration and impact, and support you in finding what prosperity means for you so that you have the business and life that fulfills you. So grab that cup of coffee, get comfy, and get ready to hear the heartwarming and heart-wrenching personal stories, all things human design and Gene Keys, plus tangible practices that you can implement right now for your personal and business growth. Hello, beautiful souls. This is Miranda Mitchell, your host of the Provoking Prosperity podcast. Today, I have Elizabeth Snyder, who is a woman portraiture artist, confidence expert, and workshop leader. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very much looking forward to this interview. I'm Liz. I own Elizabeth Snyder Photography. I do specialize in women's portraiture. I am bringing brilliance to the world by helping women feel their worth with every single session I do.
That is powerful. As a woman, I know a lot of times we struggle with self-worth, the way that we value the way that we look, how we're perceived by others, the expectations of social norms, what we think we should look like. This has been something that I feel like a lot of women struggle with. And as a mother of a daughter, I already see it happening with a 12-year-old. So I love that you bring this out in the world so that people can be confident and love who they are through how they present themselves. How did your journey of perseverance and resilience shape you into the expert that you are today in helping women find their purpose, particularly in societal expectations?
Thank you. Yes, that is a great question. I started getting into photography when I was 8 years old. My aunt got her grandfather. Her grandfather was retiring from his photojournalistic job, gave her everything she needed to set up a modest studio and darkroom. So I was with her from the beginning, helping her with her headshot business. And I started out wanting to be a conflict photographer. Life happened. I found myself without somewhere to live right after high school. So my boyfriend and I moved in together. We got married. We had 2 kids and life took over. Fast forward to when I got divorced. I had to work 2 jobs. I had to figure out welfare. I had to figure out food stamps and find a way to feed my kids. It was something that was very difficult. And the one thing that I had that I was like, no more of this, was in the winter. The woman that I was working with for food stamps, she did not pass my case along to somebody else before she went on medical leave. and I had no food. I live in Buffalo, so we get a lot of snow. It's very cold. I had to take them in the sled because nobody shovels their driveways or their sidewalk. So they were being dragged about a mile up the road to go to the nearest food bank. And that was it. That was it. I knew that something had to change. And I started to work more as a hobby with photography again. I never looked back. By the time I was ready to start my business, within a year, I was able to quit my bank job because I was being authentic. I was living out what I needed to live out and helping women be present in their family albums. So many of us we're the picture takers, right? So we hide behind the kids, we hide behind the camera, and we are not present in our albums and in our social media or in our whatever it is that we're doing. A lot of times we are hiding because we think that we are not worth having a picture taken. We feel ugly, we feel fat, we feel all of these words that we tell ourselves in our heads. Somebody very close to me passed away, and we could not find a current picture of her from the last 20 years. And it's the first thing that people look for when you do pass on, not to be morbid. And it's your legacy. And the pictures are not for you, they're for your family and for people who knew you. And just think back to how many times did we look through our grandparents' wedding albums or whatever it was, and we get nostalgic for things. And it's hard for us to get back to that place of, oh my God, I remember that without those pictures and without those videos and whatever else you're doing. But if you're not present in them, it's you weren't there. So it's very important.
That hits home because when I take pictures, it's always of my children, my
Yeah.
daughter, where we're at, the beauty of where we're at, but yet I don't want to be in the picture. I want to be present. I want to see the beauty of where we're at, and I don't want to look at myself and then judge
Yeah.
myself rather than just seeing her laugh or her smile. The thing about pictures, I love the pictures that are not posed. I feel like when I see a picture of myself laughing or being active or in the middle of something, it's much more authentic than when I'm posed, because when I'm posed, I feel like I freeze and make these weird faces and all of that.
Mhm.
Have you noticed that when you're taking pictures of women, do you have to have a little more fun, or how does that work?
We do have to have a little more fun. If I'm just, I do guide you into what to do with your hands and face and all of that. But if it's just me doing that, you're stiff and there's no emotion behind it. And there's like this sparkle behind your eyes that you cannot fake. You need to feel it. So when I start with women in the studio, we start with hair and makeup and we talk a little bit. And I love to hear the stories behind why the women coming in do what they do and how they got there. And why are they not living out what they always thought they would do? So we all have this dream. We all got to ask the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And no matter what that answer was, that's the core of what you want to be doing. And getting to talk to women about those hobbies or interests. If you wanted to be a rock star, you're probably still singing in the car. If you wanted to be an astronaut, you're probably still looking up at the stars. You never quite lose that spark of who you wanted to be. And then we always believe the people that tell us, no, it's never going to happen, which is unfortunate. But it doesn't have to be your career. It doesn't have to be something that you do even every day. As long as you're introducing that thing every once in a while into your life, you're gonna find that creativity and you're gonna be a much happier person. So we do talk a lot about what is it that you want to be doing besides work, right? Because most of us have jobs that we don't necessarily love. And just getting them to open up and talk about what they love when they're looking at the camera, they're not seeing me, they're seeing themselves. And it makes a huge difference in how I'm able to bring their soul out in a picture. It is something very important to do because modeled aside, like most of us do not do this all the time. It's something that I super enjoy, and I can take somebody who's like almost angry that they have to come in for a headshot because their boss told them to excited about the next time they get to do it and thinking about oh my God, the next time I come in, I'm bringing this, that, and the other. And maybe it's a boudoir shoot next time, or they get to change it up a little bit. And it is really astounding when you watch it happen. It's pretty cool.
I can just feel that. And when you were talking, it's very interesting that you said that, because what I wanted to be was a choreographer. I loved to dance, and I still love to dance. And when I'm dancing, it's like a different version of myself. It's like I'm just freely moving and I'm not thinking. I love that you connect that. And you said that you did photography. Hey, is this what you've always wanted to do? Is this
It
your
is.
Ah,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was very lucky to have found it that early. Most people don't. Most people are like, I don't know what I want to be, because they get in their heads about it. It's the knee jerk reaction answer that is your purpose. It's for people like me with ADHD. I cannot sit and meditate and figure out what it is that I need to be doing. I have to meditate on the treadmill. I'm hanging on to the handles and I got the thing in my ear. And that's when I can get to that happy place. So people, a lot of times they'll think, oh, this is impossible. I can't sit and journal. I can't sit and find that place where I know what I am supposed to be doing intuitively. And there's more than just one way to get there. A lot of times for a lot of people, it is being active, moving your body and getting yourself into that zone of genius, that it is what you are. I'm glad you brought up dance, because that is like a sacred art in most religions and cultures and everything else. And unfortunately, Americans do not see it that way. It's actually very important for our souls to get up and move our bodies along with everything else.
and move it freely without judgment
Yeah.
of what other people
Do
are
something weird,
viewing.
man.
Yeah, viewing you, like just moving the way that you want to move without worrying about what other people think. So if you don't have
Exactly.
ecstatic dance near you, I'm telling you, I would find it, because you can do. When I go to ecstatic dance, there's people crawling on the floor. There's people doing handstand. It's amazing. You just
I love
doing
it.
movement in your human design chart. You are a splenic projector, which is all about in the now moment. Intuition is 57 is in your conscious earth. That's all about intuition and trusting your intuition. But we all feel it differently. So I love that you connected those dots so young so that you could follow that direction rather than getting into like the standards of social norms. And I wanted to touch on that because you're talking about photography and women and their personality and their story and what makes them light up. How has social norms and rigidity of what we're supposed to look like, or breaking down that, how has breaking down that supported you with your clients?
Oh, it has had a huge effect on everybody. There's the Dove commercials that have come out without retouching, and there's a whole bunch of ad campaigns. Aerie was one of the early ones who were finally putting. I have teenagers. They're adults now, but I had teenagers when all of this was starting, and they had teenage girls up on the wall wearing the clothes and the underthings that the girls were buying without getting rid of the cellulite, without showing like these rail thin models is what we grew up with. And it makes a huge difference. So my youngest is 17, and we have lots of talks about how clothes are not gender, how I had this thing in my head because we hear our mothers about shaving your legs and all the things. And she's got patriarchy. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so right. I'm so sorry. You don't have to shave your legs. I'm sorry. So it has had an effect, a huge effect. And especially on these younger kids, they're starting to recognize that they don't buy into this old fashioned kind of rules around what a woman is, what female beauty is, or male beauty. Honestly, anybody can be anything, and you shouldn't be judged. And they don't, some of them don't tend to judge based on what they're wearing, what they're looking, how they did their hair, how they did their makeup. Older adults tend to. It's something that we got to break down. And I see it a lot with women more my age. So I'm going to be an empty nester soon, and I'm attracting what I am. And watching these women come in, and they are getting more and more confident because we do all have Gen Z kids, and we do all see these campaigns that we've been either protecting our kids from or encouraging our kids to watch. And it has been awesome. It has been awesome. And no longer is there like this, for a lot of people there is, but like for boudoir, I can make you look beautiful. And any good photographer can make you look beautiful with posing and lighting alone. You need to embrace who you are now, or you're never going to be happy with yourself. And that's when things start to change. So if you aren't happy with the weight you are, with how you look, with your hair, whatever it is, you're not going to be happy even with changing those things. You need to accept who you are, and then those things come in and change themselves.
I do feel like a lot of people around our age are doing a lot of self-healing work. Luckily, we have the opportunity to have the information at our hands where I feel like our parents did not. So I do feel like because we're able to do our work, recognize what's happened and shift that, we are raising a generation or generations that are more authentic, that do own their uniqueness, that don't want to try to fit in all the time, that actually like to stand out rather than to blend in. So I love that with this aspect because I've always been that way. I've always loved to stand. I was always different. I lived in Vermont. I was the only one that was wearing like bell bottoms and platforms when everyone was in like jeans and flannels. And I always stood out and I always tried to do that. But I noticed that a lot of society, they want to blend it. They don't want to stick out. And now because of us doing our work, we've been able to help our kids step into that, which is then creating a more authentic society where they're not going to stay in the social norms. They're going to break out. When you think about your journey with your creative self-expression and how it's evolved, how has this supported you in your business, in balancing your creativity and your business aspects? Because we do have to talk about the business aspects as well as creativity.
We do, yes. And that is a hard balance to make. So I am so not the person that is like business savvy. I love taking pictures and I love editing and I can do this. And now I'll worry about the rest later. I found myself in huge messes in the beginning, tax wise, and just figuring out bank accounts and everything else. It definitely takes some patience and time, and anything that you're either procrastinating learning or you're just not getting, or whatever it is about the business side. When you're a creative, sometimes the left brain stuff just does not compute. I did not do well in school, and I'm just not set up for that type of learning. And a lot of people aren't. It's important to know what you can and can't do, what your strengths are, and then hire out or barter or whatever you have to do for the rest. Because if you're avoiding doing it, you're just going to make a mess. So it is better to hire somebody, or if you can't afford it, see if they can barter. Reach out to people and just see if it's worth it to them to do this for you. And with all creatives, as long as you're being authentic and you're not putting stuff out there to please people, you're putting stuff out there that makes you happy, that makes a huge difference in what you're doing, because people will feel that and connect to that a lot more than if you're just trying to be what everybody else says. So I'm glad you touched on that too, because I've always been a square peg.
I want to emphasize here, we are all creative in a certain way. Some people are creative in business, in numbers, in details, which is amazing. But some creatives are not. They're creative in movement, in lighting, in connecting at a deep level. And then the business aspect is the hard aspect. So I love that you mentioned bartering and hiring out, because we cannot be our creative selves if we're bombarded with all the little things that we dislike. Yes, we have to do it in the beginning, find what you have to do. And then if there's someone that can support you in bartering, then do that, because then your energy is freed up to be your authentic self, and then things build. And not only that, but then you're also supporting someone else. The thing with creatives, humanity, even learning human design, I've realized we're all conditioned to be about ourselves, when in reality, it's about supporting one another and ourselves. So it's like, how can I be creative and support someone in their genius so that we can build, so that we can thrive rather than just me alone. We're not alone. We're here to connect. We're here to build together, not separately. I'm so thankful that you brought that up because I feel like that is very important. And a lot of people don't see that, or maybe they're afraid to see that.
I agree completely. And I try to always support the solopreneur. If it is like accounting or something that I just can't do, going to somebody who I know their zone of genius is going to be numbers. And you're totally right. Everybody is creative. So my husband is a tech guy and he's amazingly creative with what he does. He's always finding solutions for whatever problem pops up and thinking out of the box. It completely is a creative art. It's just different. It's not painting. It's not traditional art as you think of it. Supporting solopreneurs is definitely my thing. Letting people do their thing without giving them parameters around it, like a baker, or say you want a wedding cake and you're like, oh, I really want it to look like this, but you do your thing. And it always turns out the best because when do I know?
Our mind is always conditioned with what we've already experienced. They've experienced something differently, and that's their genius. So let them do their genius because I don't know anything in that aspect.
Exactly. Tell them you want pink and do their thing, and it always turns out fantastic. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's a little tunnel vision-y to make somebody else do something through you. Like we can get there in the end, but
let them step into their genius,
Exactly. Yes.
Trust their process, which trust is a huge thing that a lot of people have to work on too.
Yes.
I love to talk about authenticity. Provoking social norms is also voice. The reason is because I feel like a lot of people have suppressed their self-expression, their voice, the way that they express, because again, being too much, too loud, too soft, too quiet, too whatever it is. So how do you use your photography to help women to amplify their voices?
So while we're talking in the studio, before I even take their picture, we have already had phone calls. We've already talked about wardrobe and what their kind of vision is for their photo shoot. And then they'll send me inspiration, which I never straight up copy. We just get there with both of our vision. I'm never going to be able to copy somebody exactly, and neither are they. You go to the hairdresser, you show them a picture of some celebrity of how you want your haircut, and it looks different because you're not that celebrity. It is a very personal thing for me to make sure that somebody is getting their personality to show. And I think I do a pretty good job of showing that through the different slideshows and the different pictures that clients have allowed me to show online and in my hard copy stuff. And it is a very broad spectrum of this person, it's the same genre. It's boudoir, it's headshots or glamour or whatever it is, but it's all very different. And I do that on purpose because I want you comfortable and I want your personality and your voice to show through. And picture's worth 1,000 words. It's worth even more now because we're coming up on the most photographed generation of ever. And these kids now, they know exactly what to do. They know how to hold themselves. They know where their good side is. They know where the good light is. And it's very different from how we do things, but letting go of what those kids do and being true and being okay. You just need to take a breath. You need to get something in your head. We have your favorite music playing. We've talked about what you want to be doing. I usually crack a joke if I need them to smile, whatever it is, but we get there. It's even for people who don't want to smile. Either they're self-conscious about their teeth or they just like themselves with a soft smile instead of that big, broad, happy cheese. It's all in the eyes. Everything is through the eyes. You can be happy, sexy, cool, serious with your eyes. It really doesn't matter what the rest of your face is doing. And it is up to you and a good photographer to figure that out.
The thing that stuck out for me was the eyes, because I've always said, even with the people that I'm attracted to or dating, it has to do with the eyes. I can meet them 5 times far away and never connect on a personal level with the eyes. It's the eyes, because the eyes show the soul, show the inner truth. It shows its like inner essence. And that's what was my next question was, how do you have them show the inner truth and expression? But it's through the eyes. It's through that inner awareness of embodying who they are, because then it exudes out of the eyes. And as soon as you get that, then you have a beautiful picture. What challenges have you faced in aligning your business with your purpose? And how did you overcome them to maintain this balance? And I know we talked about paying someone to do something or whatever it is, but how did you move from that aspect to then the balance?
I still struggle. It's not something I'm really good at, but over the last 14 years or however long I've had the business, I have learned that I need to set a schedule. I need a certain schedule for shooting. I need a separate schedule for editing, and I need a separate schedule for when I actually do the business stuff. I've automated almost everything because I totally forget to send invoices and emails and whatever. Anything I can send out automatically and set up through a workflow. So getting to know CRM, like getting to know it intimately and knowing how to do these things. And there are a lot of people that struggle with the tech end of it, but it makes your life so much easier, and you're already paying for these services. You have to know how to use them. Automation is one thing that has been very important to me. I know that I am most creative at night. So that is when I do my editing. And I know that I'm most energetic and able to connect with people in the late morning, early afternoon. So like knowing yourself makes a big difference, and knowing when you should be setting up these things. And then the business stuff is usually like middle of the day when I do my paperwork and my boring stuff. So setting up that schedule and knowing your boundaries and sticking to them is another thing. I have the studio in the office attached to our home, and I have to shut the door all the time on the kids, on the cats, on my husband. So knowing where your strengths and weaknesses are, and knowing what times of day that you are able to do certain things makes a huge difference.
So it's not just about that creative process. It's about how you can be supported so that you can be enjoying that creative process. Because I know a lot of creatives, it's just about the creativity, which is beautiful, but then you get burnt out, or then you feel like nothing's happening, or you don't have a business because you're just being creative and you don't have anything set up. So it's about the yes and. Yes, you're creative. Yes, that's what you love to do. How can you set yourself up so that you feel good, you're in alignment, you know yourself, you don't force yourself, and you let yourself be in that flow?
100%. Yep.
I
Yep.
love
That's
that.
exactly it.
That's so important for a lot of creatives, because I've talked to a lot that just have that creativity, but then don't have the things set up. And that's an important thing to be aware of, because then you feel good.
Yeah.
Because then you're supported.
Right.
You don't feel like you're not being supported anymore.
And as long as you know how those things all work and work together, you're good. You're good. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to stress out. Knowing that I can get the help I need, and knowing how CRMs work and all of those things, it makes a huge difference in just my confidence in running a business. Knowing that it's okay, I got this. Being a creative in business is a very hard line. So you want to keep them separate, but you have to learn what this other part is. And it makes a lot of people not want to do the business and feel unsuccessful. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, it's about how you go about it. The energy that you go about it. Don't force yourself, and know that, yes, it's hard. When things are uncomfortable, that's when you grow. So
Yep.
it's going with that awareness and letting yourself go into that. So I'm going to ask some questions about specifics on what to do with headshots and what people should look at, what they should do, what they should wear, so they can get some information. What are some essential questions that someone should ask a photographer before doing a headshot session to ensure their authentic self is captured?
Good question. First, everybody always asks price. So you get what you pay for. You honestly get what you pay for. And I've seen some rough stuff. You want to make sure that you're going to look like you. And that is number one and most important. So price, and then making sure and looking through their portfolio and looking through what they have online, making sure that these people look real instead of glamour shot. You do not want a ton of blurred skin. And of course, we do edit skin. We want you though to look like you on a really good day at the end of the sessions. A little help is fine, but when you start looking like Barbie, that's a whole nother thing. And I've seen some rough stuff out there. And now there's that whole AI thing. So that's a whole other conversation. But so that's number one. You want to make sure that they are going to edit, but not make you look like somebody different. The second question is, how many wardrobe changes do you get? That is actually very important because you really want 3. You want a casual, a middle, and a more formal, especially for more if you're a lawyer or you have a job that's like highly professional. You want to make sure that you have 3 and it's going to apply to the different things that you're doing. So if you have a job where you're going to be more customer facing and it's a very serious job like lawyer, or you're going to want something in a blazer, you're going to want to make sure that your smile is not predatory. There's a lot of kind of things that go into it, but that's going to be different than if you're getting a headshot for a potential promotion or a different job or whatever. So that the headshot of customer is going to be different than a headshot for possible boss or company. And if you're doing talking or you wrote a book or depending on what organization you're doing a talk for, you might want something more casual versus something all buttoned up and serious. So that makes a difference too. And you want a well-rounded gallery to choose your images from. And that's the other question is, what does the session come with? Do I get all the pictures? Do I get one picture? Do I get no pictures? You want to make sure that you're getting enough that you're going to be able to use it. And you want to make sure that you're not just taking a selfie with a phone and then using AI to fix it because it never really looks right. I would say editing is probably the best one.
Okay. And then what are some best practices for preparing for a headshot, and what should clients expect during the session to feel confident and true to themselves?
When I first talk to somebody, we talk about all of that, and I send out a ton of PDFs and emails. Preparation is up to the individual. I give them everything, just take it with a grain of salt. So I give them start shopping. Usually people do know what colors they're comfortable with, but you do want to stay away from blacks and whites unless it is like a very formal black blazer. I know everybody kind of defaults to neutral just because they don't really know what colors are going to look good on them. So that is not my area of expertise. So I do have a stylist that they can hire if they want to. I partner with her. Talking about fabrics is very important too. So you want to make sure that something is matte and not shiny because the shine kind of shows up in places you don't want, and that's harder to edit out. And no neon colors too. You want to stay away from really bright colors that are going to cause a cast on the skin because that's going to be a huge deal later. And then there's going to the spa, going to the salon, taking care of your nails. You either want no nail polish or just freshly coated. Like you don't want chipped nails. You want to make sure that you're drinking enough water. You want to make sure that you're stretching. That's something that people don't really think about. I move you a lot. It is a workout, not only for me, but for you. There's a lot of like weird positions I'm going to have you in that look great on camera and are not natural. Then there's when to wax your eyebrows, if that's something that you do, not to do things that you don't normally do. Don't get eyelash extensions if you don't normally do it because you could have a reaction. That sort of thing. It's important to make sure that you are lined up on things and that you're preparing yourself and not just looking at these things like the day before you go in for your shoot. It is quite important. The other thing that I've been telling people to do is if they do wear glasses and they want pictures with their glasses on, go to the drugstore, find a pair of frames you like, pop the lenses out, and then have your picture taken. Even the glare-free glasses are going to cause a glare. You're using flashes and you have glass on your face. So it's going to happen.
My pictures are authentically me. I'm very laid back. I want to convey that comfortableness. In my chart, there's a lot of this nurturing, loving energy. So a lot of my pictures are conveyed through my chart and through my astrology. So that's what I know what to put out there. Have you done anything like that? And also, if a professional wants to make a memorable first impression through their headshots and through who they are, so that they're clearly conveyed, what tips do you have for them? And then you're professional, but more laid back, and there's more of a deep connection. What do you say for that?
Okay, those are very good. So for somebody more laid back, for instance, somebody I know owns a balloon company and party decor company, and she doesn't want something in a blazer. Like, she does balloons and parties. Like, this is fun. So we get more creative with it. There's lots of smiles. You're still going to have your hair and makeup done. I always suggest that even if you don't normally wear a whole lot of makeup, the girls that I use, they use airbrush foundation, and that makes a huge difference. And it reduces shine and all of that. So makeup is important, even if you don't normally wear it. But to get those laid back pictures, I'm on location or a location, even if it isn't like your place. And it's going to be a lot more fun. It's going to be a lot of us joking and running and dancing. And for instance, for the balloons, she had this idea of putting a balloon in her mouth as if it was bubble gum. It's cute, it's fun, and it does take some research if you don't normally do those kind of headshots. If you do more professional stuff every day with the same lighting in the same studio, you got to think outside the box a little bit and be okay with that. And knowing, hey, you know what? They're very authentic. They're very fun. We got to go with the flow too. We have to make sure that the pictures are going to look good as far as lighting goes. You got to let go of your systems a little. Somebody who's more buttoned up, that is going to be more formulaic. I know what looks good for everybody. We get our musts done. So the folded arms or the sit on a box like high school senior, and we'll get a smile, we'll get a not smile. And then we start playing with it a little bit. So even if you are a very buttoned up professional, doing something a little more fun, a little different, usually lightens it up a little bit. And they're going to be much more happy with the pictures. I start with the whatever clothing they brought that they are least happy with to what they're most happy with and most excited about. Because by the time we get into that last outfit, it's a completely different person in front of the camera. You got to really work with everybody and treat them differently because they are, and get to know that person before you take their picture.
I love that tip with the least favorite first, because I reflected back. I think when I get mine done, it always is one of the first favorites and I'm all stiff. But then at the end, I'm laughing. As we close, what is one piece of advice you would give to women who are still searching for their authenticity in a world that tries to silence them?
Let go of the fear. You gotta let go of the fear. That is the only thing holding you back, whether it's fear of what people think of you, fear of what your mother would have said. All of that is really important to let go of. You will regret it if you don't. And somebody had said, it's probably a quote from somebody famous, and I forget who it was, but you don't regret the things you did, you regret the things you didn't do. And that hits home real hard for me. I'm a two-time cancer survivor, and I can tell you from experience, it is not the things that I did. It is the things I did not do that I most regret. And of course, we all have a past. And of course, we all have a thing horrible that we did to somebody or something. And we have to move past it. And we have to know, okay, we're not going to do that again. But our brain is, that inner voice is protecting us from whatever it is. We got to thank it. Thank you for protecting me. I'm a grown woman now. I'm good. I'm going to do this anyway. It's just a matter of getting used to silencing that voice, because we wouldn't talk to another person that way, nor would we allow somebody else to talk to us that way. We have to make sure that we are being mindful of that.
Fear definitely keeps us stuck doing the things that really light us up. And when you were talking about that, the judgment thing, because we talked a little bit about judgment too. I don't know the quote either, but I do know it hit because it was like, when you are judging someone else, you're truly judging yourself.
Yeah.
So how is it that you're judging yourself and not letting yourself be in front of the camera? Let yourself be seen. Let yourself be a part of life. What are you keeping yourself from? And why don't you want to share that with others? What is that judgment? And learn to step into that fear and let go of the judgment. I love how you go deep into really connecting with women and letting them show who they are rather than just getting in front of that camera and being just a lens. It's more so the emotion. So I appreciate that. And I can see in your eyes that is what fulfills you. So thank you for being that creative, for being that person, for supporting these beautiful women and supporting yourself. And I encourage all the listeners to go to the show notes, check out all the information.
This has been an absolute pleasure. I love talking to you. You are definitely doing the good work, spreading joy to women everywhere. I just love it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. Until next time. Love you all.
My hope is that you walked away with something today that has opened your mind, your heart, or both. Listening to new perspectives not only help you grow and expand, but it helps humanity as a whole. So if you have someone that you feel would benefit from this podcast and you feel that you want to share, please do. Also, would love to connect with you on Instagram. So please follow me at Miranda J. Mitchell. One last thing, if this episode left you with any ahas and insights, take 30 seconds of your time and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. This is the only way I know you are loving the content and connection in this space. And if you want to know more or wondering how we can work together, please go to miranda-mitchell.com, click on the contact in the menu and send me a message. Sending you all love. Till next time.